Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Cheer New York, My Black Experience. My name is Matthew Brown, and this is
Abby Jones Corbin.
And we are here today with Mr.
Hezekiah Corbin.
Same last name.
That's very weird. You look very familiar.
I know this kid.
I've been on the team for about a year now.
Okay.
I came on as a back spot, but mostly now I've just been on the crown part of the team, so I've been doing mostly dances and things like that. But, you know, I switch out in and out of back spotting and other things like that. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
All right, so let's get started. So how did you get started in cheerleading?
This story is great. So my sister actually was the first one in our family to be a cheerleader. You know, my mom took her to the cheer events, cheer competitions.
You're who?
My sister and my mom.
Yes, Hezekiah is my oldest child. Just want to let y'all in on that secret.
So let in that little bit of tea right there. But no, she would take my sister Kayla to her cheer competitions. I would play football, my sister on the sideline cheering. So I've always been around the cheer aspect of it. It wasn't new to me. But the first time I did it was in college, because the school I was going to, they were just starting their cheer team. And my mother knew the person who was going to be the coach. And he was like, I need some strong men. And my mom said, men? I have one.
I got a strong man.
He's one. He's going to York. He can be there. And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay. So I ended up like going to, I think there was one camp in the summer, and then it was straight to York, straight to learning how all of this works. And that first year, I was just learning stuff, learning how to do like back tuck, learned what a back spot actually did. I learned what each position actually did. How I knew it was difficult at first, but like how difficult it is and like the steps it takes to get better at this craft. And I was like, I kind of like this. This is a sport. I knew it was a sport, but I was like, this is a real difficult, heavy sport.
So was it more difficult than playing football?
Yeah. It was more difficult than playing football. Yeah. Football, easy. Oh, I just got to get past this guy and catch the ball. That's it. Cheerleading is, all right, this person is really wobbling, so let me hold them right here. Oh, they're coming down. Now I got to catch them, make sure they don't fall too much. Okay, I caught them. Now let's make sure they don't swing around and hit anybody else. Let's put them back up. Oh, they're in the air now. We got to catch them. Hurry. Like, where are they coming down? So it's
different perspectives.
A whole lot of moving parts going on, and it's not just you. It's always a team with football, but this especially because it's like this one person might hurt themselves.
So if we trust,
if we aren't honest, especially about trust, that whole trust fall exercise in any other sport is just like I'm falling. Now it's like catch me.
Seriously catch me.
So that first year, I was just like learning, and I really enjoyed it. And so what kept me from joining Cheer New York before was I was in school, I was trying to work, I was doing all these different things. Hey Siri, no one asked you, but after I wasn't in school, my mom was like, no, Cheer New York tryouts coming up. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. She's like, what do you mean that sounds cool? You're going. And I mean, that's what she did with football too. But you know, I wasn't opposed to it. So I of course was like, yeah, you know, I'll go and do Cheer New York. I have to, you know, go to the auditions. I have to go to the tryouts. I have to like try out for the team. I'm not just gonna have a permanent spot just because my mom was on the team. But I went for the tryouts. I got the position. I got the job. And I had a lot of fun. I already knew some of the people there, but meeting some of the other people was really nice. And everyone's always like, oh my gosh, how you're Abby's son? Oh my God, nice to meet you for real. She talks a lot about you. I'm like, it probably isn't that good all the time, but thank you for remembering who I am. Like, it was a really good experience, and I can't say I've had a bad one yet.
Okay. So on that note, you've been around your sister, you've been around your mom, now you have your own experience. So what has your experience as a young Black man on a cheerleading team, what has your experience been so far in the industry?
Also as a heterosexual.
I'm sorry, as a heterosexual young black
See,
man.
that's the thing that gets people. Everyone's so, I'm not gonna say close-minded, but especially when I was in college, everyone who saw that I was on the cheer team, there was one of two ways they went. They were either like, oh, he must be gay. Or they said, oh, he gets to touch girls all day. I want to do that. And I was going neither of those ways. I was just like, I'm just here because it's a sport. I just want to be good. I just want to do my job right. So everyone would either come up to me and be like, listen, I don't mean this to go the wrong way. And I'm like, it's already gone the wrong way.
But you answered
That question. Here, but go ahead. Are you? And it's always this.
Yeah,
I don't know what this means.
I don't know. It's
always I'm like, no. They're like, oh, because you're on the cheer team and everything, so you're talking to the girls. I'm like, is it people? What else how do you talk to people? Now I need to like, you're coming at me as if I'm doing something wrong. You just said a lot about yourself.
Right.
Or they're the guys like, yeah, I see you on the cheer team. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You over there, I saw you picking them up. I'm like, that's the job. That's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Wow.
So my experience, like on the mat, in it, doing it is like, it's hard work. You got to pay attention. You can't lapse. You can't. These people are trusting you, keeping them up in the air. So you have to do it the correct way. Outside of it, it's just polarizing. Either they're like, why are you on the team? I've had people legitimately like, why are you on the team? Because it's a sport and I like to accomplish it. I like achievements. Not like achievements, but I like to try new things. So I'm gonna get good at this new thing that I'm trying. And they're like, yeah, but like, can you do something else? I was on the track team too. So they're like, hey, you just do the track team. I'm like, I can do both.
Right.
And I do both.
Right.
Why limit myself?
Very well. Exactly. Why limit yourself?
You seem limitless, and I didn't make you do it.
Yeah, you didn't make me do it.
I didn't make you do it.
So, going through this experience, have you ever felt as if you had to put your blackness on hold when it comes to cheerleading, or do you feel like you've never had to do this?
I've been lucky enough to my first college team, all black. Everybody was black. We had, mostly black. It was like, there's no, not white people go to New York, or no, go to York. So there's no white people on the team. So it was just mixed ethnicities, but mostly black. So I just felt comfortable. It was like, I'm black, we're all black. We all know what's going down. We dancing, like, we all know the same songs. Electric Slide comes on. Everybody knows the dance. You hear these things, like, it always felt comfortable. So I didn't feel like I had to put it on hold at that point. But like, let's say a competition or something, you can't go out there full on moving around. You gotta, it's very movements that have to be done. You can't just throw it out there. You have to be strict and very, that's what it is. Cleanliness is it's about, the movements that you're doing, how sharp they, cheer New York, very diverse. It's black people here, there's other ethnicities here, there's other races here. So I never felt like I had to be like, oh, let me calm down on my blackness.
So you haven't had to do it in cheerleading. Have you had to do it in any other sport and or life or,
in life, moment? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, there's a certain amount of professionalism people like to say that they have, or that they talk about, like, oh, it's professional to do it this way. It's just more of a hassle to do it this way. But yeah, of course, I've had to put a hold on how I feel as a black person.
Example.
Like yesterday. Perfect example. This happened
We're
yesterday.
real close. Okay.
I was at work, just doing my job. There's one thing you and my dad told me not to let happen, and that's people disrespecting you in a manner that is just completely out of nowhere, where they don't have to, they choose to. So I'm helping somebody. I work at a UPS store, helping someone with a package. Guy walks up, Didn't call him, didn't ask him about anything. I'm helping somebody else. I turn around to do something. All of a sudden I hear,
oh, the snap.
and it took me a second. I'm like, I know it's not snapping. So I turn around. I'm like, and he's looking behind me too. I'm like, are you trying to get my attention? And he's like, yeah, I need you. Like, hold on. Mm-hmm. And what I wanted to say was, don't snap at me.
Right.
I don't know you.
Did he just say,
don't snap at me? You know what that means when you get the black card coming out.
Well, what I had to say was, sir, please refrain from snapping at me.
My name is.
Because I am helping somebody. And the lady said, oh my God, that was very professional. What she meant was, I'm surprised he didn't blackmail her. Because obviously he had something wrong with him.
Right.
But you can't do that. And I feel like a lot of people like to say, oh no, that's just modern, like respecting somebody. It's how you go about it. Like you two taught me not to play that. Not even a little bit. So at that moment you have to say, okay, this isn't the time for the rules. So let me relax. Mm-hmm. Don't do that again. I do. Please refrain. Like use the
refrain.
Use the $2 word. Refrain from snapping at me. Yes.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, okay. But can you no. You didn't get past the first part of what I was saying. I'm helping somebody. So that's just a light one, but of course there's moments where it's like I'm surrounded by white people. I absolutely can't just be who I am.
Why not?
Yeah, and why is that?
Why is that?
Because either it's I'm not an aggressive person, but sometimes what I say could be like, what is this guy talking about? They don't know. So I could say something about an experience that I had that another black person would be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about.
But they're not.
And they're like, oh, okay, that's nice. It's just the
So do you think that a lot of times that how you feel or things that you say is automatically interpreted as aggression versus just
passion?
It's gotten to the point where I think about that before I say anything.
Wow.
Before I say something, I'm like, all right.
How are they going to take it?
How are they going to take this?
So you have to package it before you.
And I see it. Yeah, I see it with my friends. My friends are all about it. They're like, hey, don't do it. Like they are on it. And I'm like, all right, hold on. Come back. We are not in the area for us to be doing that. We got to think like I'm who they go to when they're like, see, you're about to do something. I'm like, listen, no.
With that common spirit.
But we ain't here.
That's been passed on.
Yeah.
Because my coworker just told someone that about me the other day.
That
when they're getting ready to, as we all know in those emails, when you're getting ready to say, per my last email, when you're about to go in, or they want, they'll say, Abby, before I say this, either read this, or if I say this, how does this come off? That just to me is like that is just a strange. That's a generational thing. That just seems, wow, that's different. I didn't know that was happening.
And it's like, I don't want them to mute themselves. I'm just like, yeah, we can't go about this 100% all the time. We have to think about it. And I used to think like, oh, that's just something that I do. But I recognize it now after this crazy ass year. And the last few years, I'm just like, maybe I am doing this because I know what other people might be seeing when I do something. You said somebody said it. I forget the philosopher. From far away, you can't. If you're arguing with a fool from far away, no one can tell who's who. They're just gonna place you both under that fool category. Mm-hmm. So I always make it my thing to be like, all right, no one's gonna think that I'm the one wilding out right now. So I'm gonna be calm, precise, and succinct with everything that I say.
But honestly, deep down inside, do you think that that's enough, or that it should be that way?
It shouldn't be that way. Because people have a lot of passion. I have a lot of passion when it comes to some things. That's why I try to get through to people. I may seem calm in some moments, but if I'm really feeling something, I'm like, okay, this is how it's going to go down.
Right.
So
And you can't help it. It naturally comes out.
It naturally comes
I don't know
out.
where he gets that passion from. I have no idea.
I wonder.
I will refrain from having that
But
in
it's like,
anything I do.
in any capacity, it shouldn't be, all right, I have to tone myself down. Granted, I'm not going to disrespect anybody just because they decide to be disrespectful. That's not who I am. Just me being me. But the fact that if I let one little, like, yeah, I don't yell a lot. My friends can attest to this, but you let one yell, like, this guy yelled, look at him, he's crazy. And I know that for a fact. I may not be I may be of the fairer skin, but it's still, you know, a couple indicators of which race I belong to.
Right.
So it's like, you know, even the light-skinned ones, you know.
Not even the light-skinned ones.
Even the light-skinned ones are a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So how do you think race ties into other parts of your identity?
Quite a bit. Like a lot of it. It ties into the way I talk to people, like the way I interact with people that I'm close to, the way I interact with people that I don't know. Because if you interact with people that you don't know, according to the people that you do know, it could be an entirely different conversation you have with them.
True.
So everyone here I know. You guys know I joke around. I'm mostly sarcastic most of the time. I wonder where I get But to an outside party,
16.
if I do this, they may think, oh, he was just really rude. Oh, how could he say that? Why did he have to come off that way? To me, he was joking. I'm really just trying to like lighten the mood, trying to do something to other people can be off-putting. So it becomes like, okay, they're gonna think I'm just a rude black guy who doesn't understand what it is that they're trying to say. Also, that ties into another thing where people believe they have to talk down to me because it's mostly because of the locks.
I don't know why that just took me someplace because it's so such true and it's
like.
Did I ask you to break down?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you have to go to the wrong room blocks on me?
It's not the.
Do you know who I am?
That's exactly what it is. It's like, okay, so follow me. What? I'm watching.
We're back to those microaggressions.
Very big microaggressions.
That one right there.
I didn't understand microaggressions when I was in high school, and I really should have. High school was full of them. There were so many that I didn't recognize. But now I'm just like.
But I think that's because they're so normalized that you don't.
And you didn't grow up in New York City. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Maryland.
Southern Maryland.
Southern Maryland, a little bit of the DMV area. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So it's moving back and forth between Maryland, DC, and Virginia.
Yeah.
So, like, microaggressions are, I can see them now, but in high school, I was very narrow-eyed, wasn't really paying attention. I was that kid who's like, yeah, I don't like politics. I'm 16. Like, who cares about that? Who cares about 16? You can't even vote. Like, what does this mean? I don't pay attention to politics. You don't even pay attention to what homework you need to do. So why should we care? But like I wasn't aware of a lot of things, even though I should have been because it was right in front of my face. I was dealing with them without understanding. Like,
right.
Do you remember the first time that someone dealt with you because of prejudice because of your race?
I was just about to tell this story.
Okay.
All right.
Because I need to know. What you don't understand is I'm learning too. This is not like I know what his answers are going to be. This is a learning moment for a parent at the same time as well.
I know the question asked the first time. I can't tell you the first time because I wasn't paying that well of attention.
Okay.
You already know I wasn't paying attention to nothing. But vividly, I do remember one day I was at AI. I was in college, and I had to go to the commuter bus, which was about a mile away from where I lived. First, I wanted to go to the Dash In. That's the 7-Eleven type thing that's in Maryland. It's called the Dash In. So I ran in, grabbed my drink, paid for it, and I looked at my watch and said, oh, I have 10 minutes. I have to run an entire mile. Gotta run. Put on my backpack, and I ran out of the Dash In. Outside of the Dash In was a squad car. So imagine you see me. I still had long hair. They weren't this long, but still had dreads. I match every description of somebody robbing a store, running out of an action. So the cop went, let's follow him. They followed me all the way to the commuter bus. Oh, wow. The entire way. Like, didn't ask me where I was going. Didn't stop me to see if I needed to ride somewhere. Didn't say, hey, are you running from something or did something happen? No, they just said, you probably stole something. So they followed me. I get to the commuter bus. They roll down the window like, excuse me. Oh, I know what this is about. I showed them my receipt. I had this. They're like, oh, we got a call for something in the area. I'm like, okay.
A call for something.
I don't know about anything in the area. I don't even have my phone on me, which I didn't because it was broken at the time. So I was like, I don't even have my phone on me. They're like, oh, okay. So just, keep your eyes peeled. I'm like, y'all were definitely keeping your eyes peeled. For me. You followed me an entire mile.
Now, mind you, I physically know that you will run a mile or 2 miles.
Running, walking,
running, jogging. It's, because it's just easier than waiting on the bus or whatever. So I know that is something that you would do. It's not like an out of character or a strange thing, So for me to even hear that is just like, all right, yeah, okay.
Glad I went.
Let me hold on to something real quick, because you can only imagine as a parent what you've heard those type of situations turning into.
And what it could have possibly
turned into. And I know that if you were going to the commuter bus, it had to have been during daylight.
It was 6 o'clock
in the morning. I knew that. Yeah. So that's something that it wasn't an evening, like a coming home commuter bus, because if you're leaving that part of Maryland, commuter buses only go out in the morning and then come in the afternoon. So it's not an all day thing. So I knew that immediately. So the picture painted is just like, are you kidding me? Wow. Just because you ran out of a store. No one ran after you.
I had somebody paid.
I gotta get the
But they didn't think, oh, he might be late for something. They think he stole something and is trying to leave.
Which is the sad part, because that's the first place that a lot of times their mind goes.
Which is
something negative, something bad, because it's a black person. It's got to be something bad.
But even in your statement, you said in your discussing it was like they didn't even ask you were you running from something?
Right. Was somebody chasing you?
Was something happening to you? Were you sick? Were you? It was all about what have you done?
What have I done? I am the center. It's centric to me because I must have influenced something else.
And I know in our first session when we were talking about Black experience, and I was talking about being a parent of a mother of a Black son. And at that time you were in college when that happened to you, and you talked about being in high school. When I moved here, you stayed. And one of the things I had said was I wanted you to stay in that environment, thinking it would be better than bringing you up to New York, because I was more concerned about just general dangers, not Black Lives Matter dangers, that you were a Black man and police. I was more concerned about neighborhood issues and traveling and just general crime, not specific crime.
I understand.
Which is to listen to this story is almost like, well, gee,
what did it change?
What did it change? You still got. For me, I'm glad you knew how to handle those situations from growing up. But as a parent, you don't know have I taught them enough? Did I have that conversation? How does he react when they do pull him over or stop him? Does he listen? Does he cooperate? Does he, like you did, show your receipt? He didn't ask you, and you knew to take out a receipt to say, oh, I fully understand what the problem is. And you shouldn't have to.
I used to not even take the receipt, but I'm glad I started taking receipts when I was in college.
Which is
because a lot of times, a lot of us are like, but if it's something small,
I'm like, I don't need a receipt. And then it's like, oh, maybe I did need the receipt. And I'm a grown woman, and still like, maybe, now I'm thinking about maybe I really got to take my receipt. Yeah. Because we're so electronic. Everything that I got it on my phone, I don't have time to go for my phone. I need to pay for it. Right. Okay.
And it's crazy because like I've told people this story before, and they're like, really? And it's because, like I said, I'm lighter, so they think like, oh, you know,
It should
I
be
have the benefit of the doubt.
easier.
And granted, there is some like testament to like people.
There's some truth to it.
There's definitely some truth to it. I
to
would never deny it. One thing I will not do is like buy into it and me be
Correct.
like, oh, they won't think it's me because
I'm
this,
light-skinned.
because I'm light. No, black is black.
Black is black is black is black.
Black is black is
Black boy.
black. My mom, I will say this though. You asked earlier, like who I think it's like who instilled like that pride in being black. It was her. She told me one day, it's like, yo, mom, I'm mixed. She stopped the car. She stopped the car and said, who actually using this? I was like, everybody in class. She's like, I just want you to know something. One thing. If there's one thing you're gonna learn from Abby Corbin, it's that you are black. You're not mixed. Ain't no white man in here.
I'm sorry.
And I'm gonna tell you, I can't even say why that's funny.
I can't even say.
Me and your father are just fair skinned black people. You're black. Don't let nobody try to get you all mixed up in this mix. You are who you are. And I was like, oh, I was 6. I was like, okay. I ain't paying no mind. But I go
So
back.
would you say that that's one of the first times that you own and acknowledge the fact that you were a black man?
I started saying it.
Okay.
Because people started asking me. They still ask me, but they started asking me, what do you mix with? Nothing. But then what's all of this? My parents are just lame. So what do they mix with? Nothing.
Do you know how far back we have to go to
It
find?
goes way
Okay,
back.
so I don't know about your father's side. I think it goes way back.
It goes back.
Way back.
Backer.
Backer. That's the word. I know that my grandmother, this is what I was told. This is a story passed down. So now we're back to roots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a story passed down. My grandmother is from Jamaica.
Okay.
She was the child of a sugarcane. She was born on a sugarcane plantation, and she was the product of a slave and one of the slave owner's sons.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's why she was fair.
Mm.
She moved to Brooklyn. So after that happened, she got older. They started looking at her again. Her parents shipped her to Brooklyn, where she met my grandfather, who's from Barbados, who was the darkest indigenous Cherokee-looking Indian, man. And that's where the fairness on my side comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's back.
I didn't know about the Barbados.
Yes, Barbados. Bayesian. I'm sorry. Jamaican. Okay. Anyway,
They
so
love
yes.
calling me Russ at this point. Russ.
It's dread.
It's the dread. So it's in your blood, but yes, you are not mixed.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go back in and we're gonna talk historically speaking, 1/10 you're black. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
1/10 you get one dip, one spoon.
One drop.
You're black, so it doesn't matter.
But you want to know what's funny though?
What was it?
It's funny that it's like that for us, but if I say I got 1/5 of white in me, that don't
make you white. No.
It don't make you white.
No.
Because you have one drop of black in you.
Because you're impure.
It makes you black.
Impurity.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
We're pure.
Mhm.
Pure.
Mhm.
Pure. So that is, and I think a lot of that came because of where you lived, when we lived in Maryland, in that area, because there was a lot of mixed race, other ethnicities starting to move into Southern Maryland.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna say it the way it was back is the good old boys territory.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Straight up good
That's
old
what
boys
it is.
territory.
And that's how they view you.
Yes.
That and you are what your father is. If your daddy black, you black.
Oh well, yeah.
Even then, like the neighborhood we were in at the time, I'm mostly thinking back to like middle school because I was still
Yes.
still getting those questions in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Our area was all black. Because everyone in that I remember like
In
6th, 7th grade when I
yeah.
went to
Mm-hmm.
Stoddard. There it is. So I went to Stoddard, that whole
Oh,
area
yeah.
was black.
Mm-hmm.
I knew where everyone lived.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it at the time, but I knew what the trap house was. It was
What's
a couple doors away. I didn't, like I said, it was a lot of things that I look back now like, huh, I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you remember Demetrius, who I used to go over his house in the morning and walk with him to school? His parents were chilling, but it's like, yo, here's this sandwich. I was like, I don't want to eat this. Like, I was really picky eater. I don't want to eat this sandwich. They gave me a free breakfast sandwich. I'm over here like, I don't want to eat this. How dare I? But then you walk past all the people in his building, you know, the guy outside, like, got some spare change. One of the houses come out, it's always blaring some type of music, come out, like, hey, what's up, young man? Like, you know, that guy is always trying to put people on. So it's like, I was around this stuff, and I saw it growing up. It didn't hit me until high school where I saw it again, and I was like, oh, I remember this. Oh, snap, I remember all of this. And it's like, it all made sense, and people didn't, they still think to this day, like, because of the way I look, how light I am, they're like, oh, he's never seen anything bad. And like, yeah, I tell them some of the stories, they're like, since when? Like, when did that happen? I'm like, you weren't there.
Because it's a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
It's stereotypes. People buy in, you know,
to them
completely. Unfortunately, on our side, if we buy into them
Uh-huh.
as well,
Yes, we do.
that makes you hard, and makes you a man, you know, all of
It
that.
makes you tough.
Makes
This
you
is how you do to be a real
you know,
man. Like,
Yeah.
I will say one thing here on tape, on record, so never be able to say I didn't say it. My dad did teach me one thing. He did try to do that, you know, how to be a man thing, try to give me the boxing gloves. I didn't want to do boxing at the time. Try to do all this stuff to make me a man. And he sat back and said, you know what? I think my son's just going to do what he wants to do. Like, he's just going to be him.
Mm-hmm.
And he let me be me. And now he's like, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. And he's like, I couldn't push you to be this whole different person. I'm like, I'm glad you did it. So I've seen some of these kids turn out where they're like, my daddy taught me this. And I'm like, your daddy taught you
wrong. Wrong.
It's those kids coming up to me like, why are you on the cheer team? Or like, yeah, you get to touch all the little people. I'm like, it's
Because
weird to me.
There's certain times, you know, as a parent, you know, as mentors, as friends, where it's just like, you allow your children to become who they are, but you still basically what you instill in them is everybody is a person. You treat them the way that you want to be treated, no matter what their gender, their sexual orientation, their color, their religion, their culture. You know, everybody is human. We are human, you know, and everybody has issues, you know.
Exactly. That's another thing too. People don't recognize that. Everyone has their own issues. But as long as you respect me, that I am a human being, I will respect you, that you are a human being. The minute it becomes me being something other than human is when we don't agree. And then that's when you're actually 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Because then we can't even come to a consensus on that. We can't come to a consensus on anything. You can't even agree to disagree because your opinion at that point is not full. Your opinion doesn't matter. If you can't agree that I am a human and you're a human, and it doesn't matter whatever else you say, you could be Ivy League educated. Everything you say is false.
Correct.
Because you don't have this basic human principle down.
So, being proud in racial identity, you said that you feel like comes from your mother.
Yes.
How?
And a little bit of my dad. One day I didn't want to watch it because I thought it was a scary movie at the time. He was like, we're going to watch Boys in the Hood. I was like, all right. I don't know. I was in the comedies at the time. He told me this wasn't funny. So I was like, I don't really know. But I watched it and I'm like, I recognize this stuff. Like, I'm glad he had me watch it. I was really young. I was like 9 or 8 or 9. And he had me watch it and I'm just like, oh. I shouldn't. All of these people are teenagers. They're grown. Why am I relating to what they're doing at such an old age. I've seen what they're going through, and I've been through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 9.
Yeah.
Right.
And he talked to me. He's like, "How do you feel about that movie?" I was like, "I feel like it's real. I feel like that movie has happened before.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've been a part of that movie before." He's like, "You probably have." I'll never forget. There was another time I found $100 bill in the woods. I found it, but he didn't believe me that I found it. To him, his son is a part of the game, and he just brought a crisp. This was a crisp $100 bill in the woods. I don't know how I found it. I just had it. I brought it home and said, "Dad, look, I found $100 bill." "Boy, will you get that $100 bill?" I found it. Like, you're not gonna believe the kid found a $100 bill in the woods. How did you get this? What did you do to get this? Who are you talking to? Who you're from? Where did my son get this from?
He found $100 in the woods.
Yeah.
He go outside and
So he took it. He called her. He like, "Hey, my son got $100 bill. What you know about this?" Like, angry. Until she told like, "Hey, I don't know where you got it from." And I kept telling like, I stretched the occasional truth as a kid. So people not gonna believe me. But eventually he sat me down. He's like, "Okay, Hezekiah, I just want to let you know. Did you get this from somebody?" "No." "Did you do anything to get this?" "No." "Did somebody like ask you to give someone something and then they gave you this and you kept it?" "No." "Okay. I'm gonna keep the $100. That's all I remember. That's all I remember as a kid.
That's the issue.
Let me hold on to this.
Let me hold it for you.
Yeah.
That was gone. But I realize now how worried he was. Him. His son just came in with something that could have definitely been drug money.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't even have known because I didn't know what was going on. So like I see how scared he was.
But do you think that that's just because you were a child, or do you think that was because you were Black?
It's because I was a Black child. Imagine the police stopped me and I had a crisp $100 bill on me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where'd you get that from?
I
Found it in the woods.
Oh,
Come with me.
You didn't find it.
Sir, we have your son downtown. He had it with $100 bill. It looks stolen. It's not counterfeit. But we don't know where he got it from.
Yeah.
Because white kid got a $100 bill. Oh, you must have had a good Christmas.
right.
Black kid got a $100 bill. Where'd you get that from? Who gave this to you? How'd you get it?
So now that you're older, you're now in New York. We're now in these times where Black men, even worse than when you were running out of the dash. Do you have to change anything do you feel like as soon as you walk out the door, like you have to put on or do something, or like what is your day-to-day, like going from here to work or here on the train, like are you cognizant, like do you have to like say, okay, I'm going out?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that you say to yourself when you do this?
Well, I do know that the talk was had for me. Like I had to talk with both parents, sat me down and said, listen, you're gonna go out there and you're not gonna see Hezekiah, and you're gonna see the kid that we have both raised. You're gonna see a young Black child who's gonna get the drug. But I try now to push that. I don't push it away because I can't. Literally, physically, it would put me in harm's way if I did. But I don't want to cocoon myself into being something that I'm not. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a friend earlier about me being me, and I can't stop that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go outside, and I'm going to have to be me. Now, when the situation arises, I can move in and out. I can double talk my way out of stuff. I can, code switch. I can do all of that to make sure I stay safe.
That's deep.
I can make sure I stay safe.
Correct.
And I would never walk out of this house as anything other than Hezekiah. Because that's disrespecting the mother that raised me, the father that raised me, the grandmother who raised me, everybody who had a hand in making me who I am, to just say, I can't be that when something might happen. It has to be, if something happens, the tools with which they gave me, I can get it. I know. And that it can't be, not I can't just like turn it off and be like, okay, I'm not gonna look at people, I'm not gonna look up, I'm gonna look down. Look up, look people in the eye, be who you are. But it is dangerous.
And it's sad that that's a thought that we have to have, or even thoughts that have to cross our mind, because we shouldn't have to think like that or feel as if we have to maneuver a certain way just to walk out into society.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm in the city, because then it's a whole different thing. Around here, in Jamaica.
Yeah, you're in your.
I'm just another locked person.
Yeah.
But I go into the city, it's hustle and bustle. Oh, look at this guy. Like, he might do something wrong. The cops are everywhere in the city. It's always an extra long look to make sure. Because the same questions they ask me are the same questions people ask me in Jamaica. Hey, do you know where to buy this? No. And if I did, why would
I tell you?
Because that's not something people ask me.
No.
So it's either a trap or you just don't know.
Correct.
You just dumb. So I don't know.
Okay.
So it's just, that yes, you have to change. You have to hide some knowledge that you do have, because it can be used against you. Now, how do you know where to buy that? Oh, come with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when was the first time that you would say you experienced joy within your race, joy within being a Black man?
Ooh. I couldn't tell you the first time, because like everything before the age of 12 is a muddle.
You're not that old.
I'm not that old, but it all just goes. I don't know the years.
You're trying to date me.
Yeah, I'm not dating nobody. I'm just saying the years all muddled together. I don't know what happened at what age and what. I was just scared. And one day the brain was like, all right,
now you're gonna talk.
But it's a time where I walked into art school, and I was nervous. I was very nervous because I didn't know what to expect. It's art school, so it's the best people, the most extravagant artists I could get here. And I walk in, the entire house is full of.
Oh wow!
And it was actually playing the family reunion playlist. I walk in here and just hear "Do You Remember?" And I was like, "This is my song." And he's my best friend now, Ray. He looked at me, he's like, "I see you dancing over there." And it's like, that's a lot of fun. Like, because as a kid, I was very shy. I didn't talk to people. It stayed a little bit in college, but I've grown accustomed to it now, to the point where people don't even believe me that I'm shy. They're like, "You're not shy." I'm like, "Oh, just hide it very well. You have no idea how stressed I am right now." This conversation could go bad immediately. You give me one wrong, like flinch this way, and it's like, oh, this person doesn't talk to me. But they made me like feel at home in a place where I had never been before. There's all of them there, and they were just like, they were talking to each other, but it's like, I feel like happy with this. And then like, I think it was last year. Yeah, last year I went to a place called BlurCon, Black Nerd Convention. It's all like,
Hold on, wait.
BlurCon.
Wait.
Nerd Convention.
Let's back this up. There is really something called a Black Nerd Convention.
It's called
BlurCon.
They put it
Blur stands for Black and Nerd.
And it's blur, black and nerd make blurred.
Oh,
BlurCon.
Oh.
And it's a space that was made because even in geek culture, nerd culture, like video game culture, dominated by white people completely. And they'll quiz you like, you don't know about this, you don't know about that, because they think that you're some kind of imposter. Imposter syndrome runs wild. Like, some of my friends are amazing cosplayers. They feel like they're imposters because their pages aren't being looked at, because they may do cosplay. Then a white cosplayer does it, and it gets so much more traction.
That's the same thing with it, like, when we had the conversation about like drag queens.
Yes.
Like with RuPaul's Drag Race.
Black
and
drag queens. And then
white drag queens.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Same.
a friend of mine in Hilton, he came up with this convention. Like, this has to be our space. If they're not going to give us a space,
We'll
Make
create
a
our own.
space.
space. And the first year, I couldn't go the first year. But the second year I went, oh my God, it immediately became my favorite convention. Black people. And not just because of that, but because of that was the theme.
That was
The theme was Wakanda. And it's like, when I went, I go to a lot of cons.
Mhm.
But every con I go to is very like impersonal. You may see one or two people like, hey, what's up? You'll see them a few times throughout the weekend because it's big, but there's the same people there. This con was small, intimate to a point where like you see the person you saw yesterday, they're in a new cosplay. Hey, I remember you were static yesterday, man. Yeah, that's cool. People are like, oh my gosh, how did you do your hair? Because we all have the same hair or similar hair so that we can get tips from each other. Like, how did you do this? I can get mine like this. Like, seeing us able to exist in this space. And there wasn't any like
representation, no matter what it is.
No matter what.
There was little girls walking around as the Dora Milaje. My
How
friend,
did you know?
Because those are my girls.
like they're like,
Dora Milaje.
like it was
That's my superhero.
wonderful to see. And it's like that was the one con where all my friends were like, yeah, there's no drama this weekend either. Nobody was yelling, nothing happened. There was no fires, like constant. There's no fires randomly.
Who would have known?
Yeah.
Wild.
But this was the first time where it was like, this is a successful weekend. We all had a lot of fun. We should do this again next year. And then we went the next year, and it's like, it's even better. We couldn't go this year because of COVID, but this year it was supposed to be Chocolate City.
Wow, right?
Was it Blur Magic? No, Blur Magic was the first year. This was supposed to be Chocolate City. And I was ready for it. But, it got canceled. But the fact that it had to be, and then of course when people heard about Blur, kind of like, oh, I guess you're not allowed white people. No, there are white people there.
Yeah.
Because it's not,
but
it's not only for Black people.
Right.
We made it because we had
nowhere else to go. And that's the crazy part is when we do stuff like that, we're not pushing other people out. We're going and creating our own space because they have pushed us out because they don't want us in their space, which is sad. And it who would think that even within
then they come up with some crazy stuff talking about that's reverse racism.
That's reverse racism.
No,
it's not. No, it's not.
How do you
reverse
racism?
First of all, you can't reverse racism.
You can't reverse racism.
You can't.
Because if you're saying it's reverse racism, that means you know racism is real.
Exactly.
So you're saying we're doing the opposite of what you're doing.
And we're acting off of this is a reaction, not an action.
Not a pro. We're not being
We didn't say,
we're reacting
we're
to
gonna
what
make
you
our own
already
thing
done.
just because. We said you won't allow us here.
So we're going
to create our own thing. Yeah. So of course, like we posted pictures from it, and everybody was like, some people were just trying to troll. They're like, why does it have to be BlurCon? Why can't it just be all con? Like, or whatever the heck.
Well, but that's the same reason, which is also so funny. It pisses me off because it happens in so many different areas and avenues. Oh, well, why does it have to be this? Why can't it be that? Because you made it this way.
You did not allow
us in your space.
Yeah. So we made our own.
So we're not supposed to be in your space, and we're not supposed to create our own space. So
we're just not supposed to.
We're not supposed to be at all. That's the period right there. You're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people, if you don't accept me as a human, then we can't have a conversation. Because you're working in a reality that's not.
So, if you can, in one word, right? If you can express how you feel about being a Black man, Black boy joy, in one word.
Sensation.
Oh, it's a good one. Sensation.
It's a feeling that you got in with the future sensation. But it's something that I didn't recognize when I was younger because I just wasn't paying attention. Now that I'm older, I'm talking to my friends who had to pay. A lot of my friends are darker than I am, so they had to pay attention earlier. I was lucky enough to not be that persecuted. Like I told my friend Brandon over the summer when the Black Lives Matter protests were heated. I was out at one, and I told him what pisses me off the most is that if I was in a group with all of you and we walk out of the house and someone stops us, they would go to every single one of you first and then ask me. Because all of you are the bigger threat to them. And there's nothing I can do to change that. Because I'm not gonna make myself any lighter or darker. I am who I am. And for everyone who's like, the light skin memes piss me off, but I understand why they do it. There's so many people who lean into it. They're like, oh no, I'm not black. I'm the light. I'm light. Like they think light skin is a whole different race. To me, I've been black my entire life, so I don't know how to be anything else but black. People mistake me for white sometimes. I don't know how, but they do. Yeah. So I get it. I could pass. Sorry, but I could pass, and that gives me an edge. It unfortunately does. It shouldn't. It should not. But to some people, I am less of a threat, less of a hindrance, less of something, because I am lighter. And they feel like they can talk to me. And I've seen it happen. And I used to think like some people were just angry innately. But imagine if you were like 25 and the first 24 years of your life, people painted you as this angry person. They treated you like, what are you going to turn into? But an angry person who just wants to be heard. Because if you talk like I'm talking right now, they don't hear you. Nope. They just let it roll over. But if you start clapping those hands,
raise that tone
just a little bit, and now you're the angry person. Now they're not listening because, oh, you didn't talk to me the correct way. How can I talk to you if you won't listen regardless?
Right.
And it just makes me so angry. I almost cried when I told him that too. I was pissed. I cried when I think.
I know.
So it's just like,
runs in the family.
so it's just because it's a feeling
you
like
start seeing a tear, walk away.
Oh, don't. But it's like
you do cry when you get mad. You do.
And it's like, for the life of me, I cannot change the facts. I can't change the way people are gonna think. I can change the way one person. I can have a conversation with them. Maybe if they're open to thinking about something the other way, yes. But for the most part, the huddled masses of people are dumb.
Yes, they are.
70 million people showed us just
how dumb they are. All 70 million. Yes, they did.
But that's the thing. I've seen it go generational. You know, kids don't care. Parents taught. My daddy taught me you ain't a person. 3/4 of one. So then, what are they gonna tell their kids?
And then they're
telling their kids. So it's all about like they put their parents on a pedestal. Their parents can't be wrong. They can get mad at them, but this one thing vehemently they will fight for. It's always been weird to me. Your parents have been wrong, and you said that they've been wrong. They're not wrong about this one thing. Why do you choose to do that?
To believe it.
You choose to believe it, not only believe it, but spread it. Spread it. Just infect other people with it. And when you hear something you don't like, you just go back to that well of hatred. Like, no one's hearing you because you're not saying it. No one's brainwashed. Nobody's helping the Russians or whatever other lies they told these kids. And I feel bad for the kids. Because it's not their fault. It's a little bit their fault for believing in it so vehemently. It's the parents. Because the parents, instead of saying like, oh, you know, people are people, they say, we're people. They're not. And that's a problem. It's a huge problem. And I told my friends, I feel helpless. Because unless I'm physically there with them to back them up, and they know that I would, because I've had to do it before, there's nothing I can do, and that's what makes me the angriest. I can yell with my small little voice, I can do my little votes, I can do all of this, but for the majority of people inside their own little bubble, they will always be in that little bubble until somebody, even It's crazy. Even somebody that they're like, this man knows what he's saying. Black Lives Matter. This man's crazy. We gotta find another one. And it's like, you just reject reality to substitute for your own because you just can't face the truth. And I don't know what truth they're trying to run from. Like, they just feel like
it all came from us.
Yeah. Like, I just don't get that anger behind it because I'm not a racist.
Well, yeah, we won't.
Well, we'll never understand.
And we'll never understand it. But we have, I can say that I'm proud today to listen to my son discuss his feelings and share with us and in what he's learned and how he's come to be 24 years of age at this point, with this positive, outlook, positive, belief in himself, positive blackness. Because a lot of times as parents, like we say all the time, we teach them in the way that they should go, especially as Black parents of Black children. We hope they hear us. We hope they understand. But until you see it in action as they get older, then I can rest a little bit, but don't get it twisted. Even at 24 and 20, when they go out, I still kind of sleep with one eye open, one eye closed, to make sure that they're safe or wherever they are. Even though it's now switched, they're looking for me. Wonder where I am. That's another story.
Yeah, a whole other story. And they thought she was missing.
Thought their mother was missing.
It was election day.
It's okay.
Wasn't answering.
It's okay.
It's all right.
It's all right. But it switches. They tell you when you get older, the children become the parents and the parents become the kids. But whatever. But
what you doing now?
Where you going in that?
Where you going in that?
You can wear that. But anyway,
call me when you get and on the way home.
So I can just tell you that the pride that I feel, like we talked earlier in our first session, the pride we feel when we see our young ladies go out and cheer and do and accomplish things, but it's even deeper when you see your own,
your own child.
As my mother would say, the girds of my loins, like she would say, they come from me, and when you see them and they are intelligent and proud and outspoken and also human and respectful and care about others, that's when you really say, okay, I did my part. I did what I can do. I know that they have.
As Millicent Jones would say, I am proud of you and everything you have done. You have made me happy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. She was
Thank
saying
you. Thank you.
Always ended in thank you.
So,
very polite
woman.
Until you don't take the trash out.
And she throws trash
She
cans.
throws trash can at you.
Lord.
I told you. I didn't always.
So we thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for talking with us today.
It was very insightful.
Yes, it was.
Very insightful from a different perspective, which is what we're trying to bring to our viewers. Different perspectives,
different stories, different walks of life. Because something will resonate with you. We always said, representation. You want to, there are people out there, people didn't realize he was into cons and blurred con is something you might want to reach out and ask him about. Check it out. Check it out. Yeah,
he's told me a lot of stuff about, I've learned a lot. I know way more about Star Wars than I think I ever wanted to know. Ever would know could know possibly. Sitting there watching is just awesome. So we thank you again.
Yes.
We hope you tune into our next episode next week. We will have another wonderful guest on, and we'll interview them. And
thank you for joining us on Cheer New York,
My Black Experience.